We're going to be talking through the Monday MLB slate. Really fun weekend, a lot of fun stuff. I mean, I started on Thursday for me. Winning the tournament was fun. Didn't have a great Friday, but we had a great, Saturday, and I was having a housewarming, so it was kind of fun to watch my sweat, and then I get to tell people, hey, look, the guy I work with, Sheets, my buddy, who you guys all met, he just won 95,000. So it was like everybody's just like, wow, look at what's happening. So it was a really fun experience and really nice sweat with the community. Had a little mini NBA sweat last night. Almost came back with a Donovan Mitchell lineup and almost made it relevant in the 555, but couldn't quite get all the stuff done. But it was just really fun, and I do encourage people to really check out and think about being a subscriber. There's a lot of activity, especially in our premium channels. We've got some cool tools and stuff that we want to talk more about. We'll be featuring a little bit later this week. We're doing a revamp of the site. So please like and subscribe while we do these free videos, because we are doing a lot of stuff behind the paywall now, but we also want to keep doing these free videos. So
you know what? I would like to do something I don't do too often. I know that you and Kenny want me to do more of this, but I want to sell you on everybody on the site for like a minute, okay? Yeah. And Bobby, you didn't know I was going to do this. So again, like when I started doing this, I was a content absorber, like most people, right? I watched all the videos, I watched all the stuff, and I was watching other sites, I was watching how to do whatever. And the one thing that nobody ever really did on the sites was actually show you like how they play. Like they would say, I like this guy's good, but nobody would ever actually show you what they did, how they did. Forget releasing actual lineups, but show you actual process and stuff like that. And when we started this, I said, this is kind of what I want to do. And Bob said, well, you can't like show all your lineups. Well, let's just see what we, whatever. But at least we like go through process and stuff. And I have to say, if I'm going to be really real and objective, I really do think we're the only site that does this.
I agree.
That not only goes over who we like, which is important, but actually shows you how to construct lineups and physically how I'm doing it. You know what I mean? And all of this. And everything that I go over in my videos, whatever, is actually applying to the actual lineup builds. And I'm going to use the MMA thing as an example as we go into another thing I'm selling this site on, is that if you go to my video, I know you don't want to watch a video from something that already happened, right? But if you go to my video from last week when I did the DFS preview, I mean, it literally said like what my favorite underdogs were, what I was going to do with them, what I was going to put together. And then you know what I did? I actually did it. I mean, in my actual build for that tournament, I took there were 4 key fights. One of them got canceled. So I took three key fights, and then the 7 other top plays I had, that's 10 players out of like 24. I X'd everybody else out, and I scrambled them and bought every combination of those players. Right? That's exactly what I did. And that got me 80 of the 150 lineups. And then I used 70, the other 70, I had Saberson build for me. Turns out the 70 were just totally unneeded. Okay, like the 80 just got me, not only did it get me the optimal, but it got me a lockdown with 1 fight to go. Like whatever happened, I would win, And the point is that it's not that I won. It's the point that I showed everybody what I was doing right from the outset. And it leads me into the next kind of selling point on the site. And this is something I wasn't expecting. Like when I first started to do this with you, Bobby, I was do the same thing you did. I loved I did the football and I did the basketball. Whatever was big, that's just what I did. But I got very interested in applying the disciplines to the other sports. And I really, as you guys know, I'm really into them. I have hell of a lot better ROI and like all those other sports than anything, than baseball, basketball, football. And I put as much effort into that as the others. And slowly but surely we became kind of a site that deals with all the sports. Between Bobby's like specific knowledge of baseball and basketball and football and my just kind of like commitment to like these other sports too. I mean, I really think that it's a really good solution for people that are as interested in this shit as I am. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I don't know. That's
and just really quickly,
that's my selling point.
Yeah, really quickly to add to that, I do want to say that the aggregation of projections throughout the industry too. Separately, we have your projections and we have the Saberson projections. I just feel like we're offering a really good value. So I do encourage people to check it out. Sorry, we didn't plan to do that. Me and Sheets are.
I never do this, but
yeah, we're not usually the guys, but I do think there is some real value that we're offering that other sites just aren't. And I would encourage you guys to at least like the videos for now and join our Discord. And if you can, jump on the site.
Look, the fact is, I mean, we have these site meetings once a week, which I usually can never make. Every once in a while, I'll just step back and I'll just look and see what's going on there, you know. And I'll tell you, I mean, listen, I don't particularly like. We're just like behind the scenes information. I don't particularly like all like the real like exclamation mark tweets with the million emojis and like, oh my God, check out my guy Sheets, he did it again. That's really not for me. But as far as the actual like site and like maybe it doesn't look the greatest, but the information and the way it's provided, I actually am really proud of it. I thought I'd let you know.
I'm glad to hear it, and I feel the same. And then the last thing I just wanted to remind everybody, we are going to be doing the 10 a.m. We're gonna with Scott McCarty, we're gonna do a sort of a roundtable discussion / coaching session, lineup build, go through the process of previous lineups and stuff like that. And it'll be a little thing we did before, and we'll be doing that tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern.
This is Tuesday at 10.
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot to. I thought I wrote to confirm you, but I forgot. I may have forgotten. Okay. Good morning to my man Eric and Chad early, ready to talk about the A's today. So I'm sure
if the A's are playing, Eric's
going to play. We know Eric's going to be playing them. All right, so we're going to talk Toronto and Chicago, and right off the bat, like I understand the fear for Bassett. We don't have a ton of other options like that you feel great about outside of Strider. I mean, we can discuss that, I guess, but. I do think both these guys are in play. Lynn can keep enough on the ground. Bassett's a good enough pitcher. I think Bassett is clearly the preferred of the two, but I'm going to mix in some Lynn. I also don't mind because the way the slate is lined up that I don't mind a Toronto stack. So they're a little bit of my, hey, maybe we can get away with at least stacking them a little bit. And I think they're going to be very low owned because Lance Lynn is a good pitcher, but this is a team that can go off here. So they are on my list.
My only issue with Bassett is the ownership. So, this is a slate where it's Bassett plus, where it's Strider plus something, right? It seems to be the idea. And my first look has Bassett at 30% ownership. And I just have another guy that's kind of rated similarly for me, different price, whatever, that I'm going to go to separately, like much less owned. That's my only issue with it. Otherwise, when I think of Bassett, I think he's, a kind of a reasonable option on a bad pitching slate like we have, and would be an awful option on a big pitching slate, right? So I definitely think he's in play. The ownership kind of concerns me. I think that lineups with Strider and Bassett together are going to struggle to get different. I shouldn't say they're going to struggle. I think it's just going to force you to get different. I'll put it to you another way. I do like the Toronto side of as far as a stack goes. There's like one real chalky one that I like, and then there are four others I want to talk about. But Toronto is one of them. Lynn certainly can be, he can be sort of frustrating for righties sometimes. I haven't really seen it yet this year. And Toronto just has so much raw power. And they're at home, you know what I mean? Like I think that they're a very, very, very solid option tonight. So that's where I'm at. I'm at Bassett, but I'm worried about ownership. I'm with Toronto, and I just don't quite have it in me to play Lynn right now.
Yep, I totally understand. It does worry me a little bit, the Lynn versus righties, but that is still a stack I'm definitely considering. All right, Miami and Atlanta. I might be in the minority on this one, but I think Cabrera has some talent.
Obviously has some talent.
No, but I think he's like got some talent to be like potentially like really, really good. Maybe I should have said that. I think he's got like not star, but just beneath it type of potential. Maybe star. But as always, like it's Atlanta, and you've got a bad bullpen behind Cabrera. It's in Atlanta. The hitting weather's fine. The wind blowing out at 9 miles an hour. It's very, very hard not to have interest in Atlanta for me here. They are shockingly far lower owned than I thought they would be, which just means I'm going to prioritize them more. I like the idea of even trying to attack Cabrera, and I don't even I can make the case for Cabrera, by the way. But the main thing is going to be Strider and the Atlanta stack for me. I'm into both sides of that whole situation.
Yep, I agree. I have Atlanta as one of the 5 stacks I'm looking at, and as we kind of alluded to, Strider is the best play on the slate as far as pitching goes. He's going to be 60% owned in the lottery and 80% in the 555 or 777. I'm just guessing, and that's the way it's going to be. If you don't want to play Strider, I don't think you have to go full on stack Miami against him. If you don't want to play Strider, just take different pitchers. As far as that goes. And once again, I like the Atlanta side of it. Now, as far as Cabrera goes, I kind of agree with you in that when you're searching for an SP2, and you're going to make the case that he's got talent, and he does. And yeah, Atlanta's tough, but they swing hard. They can strike out, So I wouldn't be opposed to that. It's so funny. It would be an anti-projection play because he's not really looking so good on my board. But if I got to him somehow, that wouldn't bother me at all. I mean, he could put up 20 in this spot.
Yep, absolutely. I think he's definitely a guy we should consider. Especially if you're going to have any sort of chalk in your lineup, he's a good way to get different pitching wise. Atlanta will strike out too. That's the other thing. They hit, but they strike out a lot. All right, Boyd and Detroit and Milwaukee. Sheets, why don't you start this one off? Because this is one of the games I'm having the hardest time with.
Yeah, I will tell you right now, I don't have an interest in the Colin Ray thing. If he's going to be somewhat popular, I don't know. I don't know. They talked them all up on Morning Grind too. You know what I mean? I don't know. We'll see. We'll just see. Home against Detroit, people on a slate with limited options. I don't know. I have Ray as I just have guys ahead of him.
Yeah,
not like that much, but I have guys ahead of him. One of them, God help me, is Matt Boyd. Gross, but that's kind of where I am. It's not. I don't have him rated as high as like kind of some other guys I have, but I have him in play. If I get to him in MME, I'm not going to take him out. I don't think I'm going to play him in my big buy-ins though. I'm not getting to the hitting in this game at all from either side of this, which is. You'd think you'd want to play some Milwaukee's if you want to know the truth, because Boyd does give up like a lot of power, but I'm just not getting there for some reason. You like Milwaukee, or you like either of these pitchers? What do you got?
Yeah, so that's why I'm sort of stuck a little bit. I can see an argument of a different play for both pitchers, but I don't necessarily feel like excited about that possibility. I think there's other guys we can get weird with. I do think Boyd does carry like with a little bit like we haven't seen it lately, but there's the potential for a ceiling type of game. But I don't know. And lefties against Milwaukee, we haven't seen that many of them so far this year. But you have your better hitters are left-handed for the most part, so you get the platoon guys all playing like Luke Voigt and Brousseau probably today, Owen Miller, that are probably all substitute candidates. So it's kind of hard to stack them, but they're very cheap. And then you also have the Tigers, who are really, really cheap, which I think is actually an interesting route also. So I have definitely interest in both sides of the hitting in this game, but I don't know to what level. They're none of them rated. Like, I don't love like the idea of fully stacking these teams, but the Tigers have some real like value pieces that I are, Baду is 2,300. He's one of the best projection guys on the slate. Carpenter's only 3,100. Depending on how the lineup shakes out, Nick Maton or whatever, he's had 4 home runs, I believe, this year. He might be leading off at 3,100. We'll see where they put Vierling in this matchup. We haven't seen them all over the place, or Baez, but they're just all really cheap. So I don't mind the idea of getting like a mini stack of Detroit and maybe doing a mini stack of Milwaukee, but I don't think I'm getting the full 5-mans. That could be a mistake. I would have more interest in the Milwaukee side of it, but it just seems like 3 of those guys who I would play would end up turning, or at least 3, maybe 4, would turn into different players by the end of the game. So that's my fear for the Milwaukee stack. But yeah, I do like the game in general for offense. Also, I always like targeting lefties in in what's it called in Milwaukee. It's a great hitter's park for lefties. So the lefties from Detroit are kind of interesting to me. All right, your Yankees and Twins. What are you doing here, Sheets?
Yeah, I'm not getting to either of the hitters, the hitting stacks here. I'm interested in kind of I don't know, maybe double revenge here. So on the one hand, you have Sonny Gray going against the Yankees. Probably the 80th time he's going against them since they got rid of him. But like I said, Sonny Gray. Everyone's sometimes he'll walk 7 guys and strike out 1. Some guys will strike out 10 and walk 1. Whatever it is. But I think that he's a reasonable option here. Again, he's not my favorite, but he's in the play for me. And I got Brito revenge against the team that just torched him for 11 runs in his last start. So that would be it. That would be my case for Brito. Is that Minnesota just blasted him in his last start and expect nobody to play him as a result of that, and which is I guess that's why Minnesota might end up getting played, because he gave up 10 runs to them or have 15 or whatever he gave up to them. So I think that Brito is, again, he's not a projection player or anything like that, but just for fun, maybe just to be a pain in the ass, maybe I'd play a little Brito.
Yeah, I kind of had a little bit of the same type of thought when I first looked at the slate last night. But I don't know that I just don't know if we need these 6K. That's where I was at, even with the Boyd and Ray. Like, do we need these 6K guys? I like Sonny Gray.
Okay.
It's not that I love him as I'm just watching every day. The Yankees just get completely owned by a starting pitcher every day, and they strike out a ton. We just saw Gausman do it. We saw Manoah shut him down for 7 innings. Why can't Sonny Gray have a performance like that? The problem is he's actually getting a little bit more steam than I thought. I like to try to get the pitchers when it's 48 degrees. It's not great hitting weather. The ball's not going to carry. That takes away a lot of the Yankees' threat. So I like the idea of playing some Sonny Gray here. And he's definitely going to be one of my top 5 pitchers. He's going to be behind Bassett and Strider, but I don't know who else for sure I'll have behind him, if anyone. I think he's a really reasonable option today. And I'm just not getting to the hitting in this weather, but if you want to play Byron Buxton at 4,800, that seems like a pretty good idea. It's too cheap for a guy with his talent, and I just can't get to the full stack. Miranda's cheap, but he hasn't been hitting much. I'm not very interested in the full stack. Correa, Buxton are fine, but I don't think I'm getting to the full stack here. All right, we're going to get to Eric Johnson's game here.
Well, let's talk about Eric Johnson's game here for a second. Okay.
Yeah.
I actually have an opinion here. So the Angels are going to be the chalk. They're going to rate to be really, really good here. I don't know. It's a stupid thing to say, but I'm just kind of not a believer. I don't know why the Angels are so great. That's just me.
Yeah.
That's the best I can describe it. Yeah, Waldichuk hasn't been, Sandy Koufax either, but I mean, he's supposedly a prospect, supposedly not terrible. And
he's pretty good. Yeah, he's been pretty good though.
And the Angels come in like that's the big chalk. I don't need any excuse to fade chalk in baseball. And yeah, I'll live with what I just said. I'll find better options. What I would like to do is play Jose Suarez. That's what I'd like to do in this game. Instead of playing like Ray or Bassett or Matt Boyd or whatever it is, that's who I'm getting. That was the guy that I had rated kind of similar. I was in totally different prices, but whatever, to Chris Bassett. That's why I kind of normalized with my value score. And I'm having him at only 15% ownership. That's kind of what I want to do. So that's my opinion. I want to play Suarez, and I kind of want to fade the hit.
Yeah, I mean, I have the same feeling. I don't know what the hell's wrong with Suarez. He has been dreadful. Really, really, really epically bad. And he tried to correct the fact that everything was getting hit hard.
He's doing great. He's got 1 fantasy point, negative 1.6, 0.1. I don't know what the problem is.
The weird part is I would be way more on this play if he wasn't going to be owned. And I think he's going to be, which is just kind of crazy. Considering so it kind of makes me want to go to the A's, who are also going to have a little bit of ownership, and it sort of depends on how their lineup. But you could have the Langoliers in there, home run off DeGrom yesterday. I think it was yesterday. You've got Ruiz who will be leading off at 2,900. Diaz is cheap at 3K wherever he hits in the lineup. You've got Aguilar at 26. Rooker, assuming that he's in there at batting third, 34. These guys are very reasonable, and I don't mind some Suarez, and I definitely don't mind some Oakland stacks. I kind of tend to agree with you when it comes to the Angels, but I'm like, it just depends on how popular they are, because on its face, I would like to try them here. I just don't want to play this kind of ownership, and the guys you'd have to use to get off the board are not my favorites. I guess Urshela would be probably and he's not even that off the board. So I'm probably going to end up fading most of the Angels, because I just don't want to play that chalk, and unless I do something weird with my pitching. But I have Oakland as a legitimate team, mini stack at least today. So I'm totally on board with the Oakland idea, and I'm also on board with taking some Suarez lineups. But Oakland actually, I think, is probably the most I felt that they were in play in a little while.
All right, so now here we go. So I'm gonna violate a Bobby rule here. So Bobby, you can yell at me when I do this. Okay. So here's the deal. You have Casey in Arizona, and Tommy Henry is coming up to make his start at 5K. And here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
Tommy Henry stinks. Okay. And I know you hate when people say that. You know.
No, I don't hate it when it's true.
Oh, okay. I thought anybody that's like under 20, that's young, and you say they stinks, like it's not fair.
At the moment, I think we can agree that at the moment he
okay.
probably investing.
So Tommy Henry stinks. That's the one thing. Second of all, Tommy Henry stinks, and we have them in Survivor. Second thing is that he might stink, but Kansas City's no bargain either, and he's 5K. So what we have here, as far as I'm concerned, is two different ways you could play. I think you could play Tommy Henry at 5K. Hashtag he stinks, right? And you could play Kansas City. And Kansas City probably shows up as my top stack. They're probably, I imagine they're going to be pretty popular. So I think you could do either of those two things. The other thing that you could do is you could play Arizona against Brad Keller. And I think that's going to be somewhat popular as well, which then will lead me to ask you if maybe we can play Brad Keller. Now, it's funny, I mention it because in his last two starts were against like the best team in baseball, right? Actually, his last start was against best team in baseball against Texas. Gave up something. But the game before that, he was freaking kind of lights out against Texas. And the game before that, he was kind of pretty good at San Francisco. And remember, when I suggested that we take Texas against Kansas City, you even said, "Are we sure we're not supposed to play Brad Keller?" And he didn't particularly have a good game in that one.
Right.
But if you tell me that Arizona is going to be somewhat chalky, and you're looking for an SP2, I can make the case for this too. So I can play all four sides of this game.
Yep, I totally agree about most of it. I don't know that you need it with the pitching, but I totally can understand it. The roof's going to be open. This is clearly the best spot of the night. I thought this would be, and I still think it might end up being the most chalky spot. I do like both of these teams. You're going to probably have to find ways to get a little bit different with them because they are going to be popular. But I like both of them. Like, for example, the first lineup I built on FanDuel was basically a game stack here, but I played both catchers. I played Perez. Well, I played Perez, and we have to see if he's healthy, if Melendez is in the lineup. But playing Perez, Melendez, and then using Moreno on the other side from the Diamondbacks is just a different way, enough way on FanDuel to maybe get a little different. Because that is going to be how you try and play these stacks. And as much as I can see the argument for the pitching, like Henry has been horrible in the minors. He's not like a top prospect. Like this is okay. We're getting,
it's not like the Logan Allen or whatever.
Right. He's just whatever. But he still probably can get 10 fantasy points, which may end up being good enough as an SP2 today. But I'm probably going to be off of the pitching. I'm just trying to find ways I can get a little different in the stacks, and it is hard to figure out. So I would just encourage anybody who's interested in stacking here to maybe take a couple of the. I guess Olivares, depending on where he hits, might be low owned. Pavin Smith will be low owned. You could play him instead of Christian Walker if Christian Walker plays even. And this, it really depends on how the lineups shake out, but really just make sure to get as much exposure to the bottom of the lineup as you can, because I do think you're going to see some extreme chalk on the earlier guys. And I do like both of these teams today. I actually have the slight edge to KC, but I do like Arizona quite a bit as well. So definitely the best game to stack, but just going to have to deal with the ownership on the slate.
And in the last game, I'm going to pass on the Alex Cobb at 8,900 against St. Louis. It's not like he's the worst play on the board, but he's just not quite. I don't feel as comfortable with him as some of the others. And as far as Montgomery goes, someone else can play him. I mean, I know that San Francisco, listen, hasn't been great against lefties. I mean, Logan Allen, did well against. Everybody's done well against San Francisco against lefties. But something about Jordan Montgomery 9,500 doesn't sit well with me. I'm probably just not going to do it. And fortunately, he doesn't project all that great either. So I'm going to be off of Jordan Montgomery, and I'm not going to be on any of the hitting.
Yes, sadly to say, even on a small slate, this game feels fairly cross-offy to me. I don't have a ton of interest in anything. I wouldn't fault you for playing Cobb or Montgomery. I think they're both fine. I am not personally going to do it, but I'm having a hard time getting into the hitting here, and both pitchers are good enough to keep me off of it. So I'm probably just going to be off of it. I do expect St. Louis to start hitting the ball better at some point. They've been really disappointing this season, and they're going to break out. I just don't know if today is the right time to go after them. So with that said, we did mention, the spots I'm looking at for me today are, I like Atlanta a ton. I like the Oakland idea, and then trying to mix those in with the KC and Arizona game. I also like the idea of maybe some Toronto, and then I'm deciding what I want to do with Milwaukee and Detroit. Still the game I'm struggling the most with, but maybe that's an interesting pivot off of the Arizona game. Sort of similar type of offenses, one bad offense like Detroit, similar to KC, and then you've got the similarities in Milwaukee and Arizona. At least I think of them as a little bit like that. So that's what I'm probably doing. But I will have Atlanta and Oakland a lot today. Strider, Bassett, Gray, and Suarez are the four pitchers I have the most interest in, which is weird because I just said I liked Oakland also. But that's where I'm at with my pitching right now. Anything? What have you got?
Yeah. So first of all, hitting. Again, I'll review the 5 stacks I liked. That would be, KC, Angels, Zona, Atlanta, and Toronto, with probably the first 3 being the most popular. KC, the Angels, and Zona. So the 2 lower stones of those 5, probably Atlanta, Toronto, are probably the 2 best hitting teams of the 5 that I mentioned. Yeah. So that's good news. So that's probably what I'll end up doing in the bigger buy-ins. As far as the pitching goes, I'm not going to be fading Strider in the big buy-ins, I don't think. What I would do is maybe take a shot, like I said, on Suarez as an SP2, being lower owned than some of the others, and avoiding kind of what I think it could be a very chalky Strider-Bassett combination.
Yeah.
Sonny Gray would be the next one. If I didn't want to play Suarez, I'd play probably Sonny Gray as kind of a pivot off of Bassett. But I think I have Sonny Gray getting 20% ownership right now as well, so it's not like he's going to be anything.
Yeah, it's not enough.
And also, like you said, it's not as if Suarez is going to be unowned either.
Right.
So if it was going to be anything really off the board pitching wise, I would say Matt Boyd could be off the board. I wouldn't mind that. Gross, Tommy Henry, and those would be the 2 kind of off the board things I would do. But Matthew Boyd, I think at least makes a little bit of sense. I know that he can get strikeouts if things get going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I agree with that. All right, guys, we'll be live at 6 Eastern, and we'll talk through NBA then as well. Yep. Make sure to like and subscribe and all that stuff, and hope you all have a wonderful day. Hopefully we can keep some of the momentum from the weekend into the week. Good luck.